Good morning, everybody. I have not said much. I've been in deep grief. I've been in disbelief. I've been a lot of things. And today, from home, where I feel the safest, in my hometown of Seattle, Washington, I'm sitting by First AME Church in Seattle. And I felt compelled to pull over because of several reasons. One is, I think many of you know, and for those of you who have been deprived of history books, I will tell you that the AME Church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, was in so many ways the birthplace of a movement for freedom for our people. It was the place where abolitionists and folks who aspired to be abolitionists convened before slavery ended to talk about what our freedom agenda would be, what it would mean. And the thing that strikes me today on the other side of Veterans Day is I always have my Harriet Tubman necklace on. And of course, she was named posthumously as a general for Veterans Day because of her fight for freedom. What we know is history has not always been kind to Harriet Tubman, that people are just now coming to terms with what it means to go back 19 times to rescue people who aren't sure if they want freedom enough to die for it themselves. And what I would say to you is that freedom is always worth it, that freedom is not easy, that freedom is to be fought for, and most of all, that freedom is not free.
Before we get to the rest of this, and I always like to give credit to the content creators, so that'll be linked back down into the description. Also, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. We got some phenomenal content in there. Teach Hanley 40% off your first order plus 20% off life, and then get your tickets to come and kick it with me December 14th in Detroit. It's going to be absolutely awesome. People comparing what voters decided that they wanted as leadership in this country that ultimately brings us back to a time in 2016, 17, 18, 19, where we were in the best position possible, no new wars, economic growth, economic wage growth, low inflation, protecting jobs, ensuring that the steel industry would stand up, renegotiating the North American Free Trade Agreement in order to ensure that we have parity when it comes to international trade and that there's not a trade deficit on the United States side. Also making sure that NATO pay their fair share, lower taxes, and then generate more revenue by lowering the tax code to ensure that offshore companies or companies in the United States of America pull their profits offshore back into the United States of America to be taxed at a lower tax rate, which then generated more revenue for the federal government. And then that translated into us having better jobs versus what we've experienced over the last 3.5 years cannot be compared to slavery. I know that they try to use these extreme examples because you're no longer on a federal level, because we want to remove the government from out of your lives, able to get protection from the federal government in order to use and eliminate babies as a form of contraception. But you can still do it in your state if you vote for it. And we're talking about freedom? Freedom. The media has done a mind fuck so severe in black people's minds, and I'm not even sure if she's fully black, but if she say that she's black, hey, it's just like a woman. Most people identify as whatever they identify as. I'm not going to do the research, nor do I care. But I want to speak to the talking points, because what civil liberties, what freedom do you no longer have as a result of voting Trump back in office, that then said that he wanted to fix our food, close off our borders, make sure that people get in here the right way, protect the American economy, make sure that workers are protected, make sure that tariffs, China is not sending products in through Mexico in order to protect the American economy and the steel industry and the auto manufacturers, and then grow jobs, that we want to audit the federal government to make sure that we don't have any more bloatware. We want to protect children in these indoctrination camps from preaching and teaching, and from people from having gender affirmations, and to make sure that they protect their children that they can't transition when they're kids, and we want to bring back the American family. What part of that don't we agree with?
And so, what will your freedom cost you is the question. How will we yoke up together and stand shoulder to shoulder in this collective fight for freedom? What does our freedom mean to us? And that's something that I'm going to be wrestling with for the next several days, and figuring out what my role is in our collective journey to freedom. So that's what's on my heart to share with y'all today. Thinking of a freedom fighter and holding her close and remembering that her journey was far more difficult than ours is even now. And that freedom is still worth it. So I'm sending y'all all the love. We got to keep the fight because that's what we know how to do best. And I pray that your souls are well. And if they're not well, that you're closer to becoming well. I say often in my lives that I don't allow anything where you disparage people I love. So I'll say that too. Somebody said, will there be a podcast this week? Yes. We record tomorrow. For those of you who know, we record every Wednesday. And we will be releasing our episode on Thursday. So this is a nonpartisan and a bipartisan call for freedom. And know that I am always standing with you to ensure that you see and realize that freedom one day.
These cupcake liberals are amazing to me. Amazing to me. These cupcake liberals that are fighting for some mythical freedom that they don't have is amazing today. They run so hard in the Victim Olympics and they sit there and they cry. These are the type of people that actually cry that they didn't get a participation trophy. These are the type of people that scream that you aren't doing your homework. These are the type of people that they just the worst of the worst, to be honest with you. The worst of the worst. And I just cannot believe, as we drink on and we celebrate on the tears of those that continue to whine, and they tried to bully you into voting away. And then they said, okay, well, let's have a free and fair election. But all of the time leading up to the election, they lied. They talked about Project 2025. They threw a bunch of nonsense and rhetoric in there. They tried to prevent him from being able to get on the ballot. They threw false charges on him and then tried to convict him of things in order to paint him as a convicted felon. They did everything that they possibly could, and at the end, it was the people in this Republic of the United States of America that's governed by our Constitution. It was the people that decided that they want Donald Trump in office, and we absolutely made a great pick. And I think that this was a fight of good versus evil. The question is, which side was you on? And more importantly, even people that are evil think that they're doing the right thing. And so a lot of times we got to give grace because they still on the Democratic plantation of their mind when they start to compare themselves to freedom fighters. Y'all let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Henley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. All of these people running in the Victim Olympics, but we got to give them grace. We got to give them grace because it's amazing. Their lives didn't change, not one bit. She can still go and record her podcast. And more importantly, one of the things that Trump said on X specifically is that he wanted to make sure that he protected freedom of speech regardless of what stance or what part of the aisle that you want. But they still gonna whine, they still gonna complain, they're still gonna act like somebody took their dog. They're still going to act like they the most hurt of all time. And I'm here for it. I'm absolutely celebratory of it. I invite it. I can't wait to continue to see it. Y'all continue to send me this stuff. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna holler at you later. Peace.